Welcome to the Strangeology podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Foran. From cryptozoology, ufology, and the paranormal, to legends, forbidden history, and more. Listen in and explore the world of the weird and unexplained. Join me as I look into strange and fascinating tales and unearth the truths and theories behind some of the world's greatest mysteries. Be sure to head on over to our HQ, Strangeology.com, where you can check out our blog, episodes archive, gift shop, and so much more. Now sit back, relax, and join me as we get weird.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Strangeology podcast. I wanted to give a quick thanks to all my listeners out there who checked out my last episode. You all seem to really dig that one, and that's awesome. So to all new listeners out there, if this is your first time listening to the show or the last episode was, welcome aboard to this strange and unexplained express. I'm so glad you're here. Last episode was super fun with Aaron Deese, so definitely check out his podcast. Again, Hey Strangeness. And, I hope everyone's been doing all right. The world is a wild place right now. But in New England, we at least had our first taste of spring just the other day. It hit 60 degrees, and that was super nice. It was awesome to get outside instead of being cooped up and trying to stay warm with all the snow that we had recently got that is now melting away. So I'm looking forward to doing some projects around the house, indoors and outdoors. This spring, we have a literal laundry list of things to do, but it's going to keep me busy for sure on top of everything else. This winter felt like it was a little bit long compared to years past, but we're almost out of it, and definitely looking forward to warmer weather, cryptid conventions, and all the fun stuff that happens in the spring and summer and fall. So it's going to be good. As far as new stuff for Strangeology, I've been working on designing a few new pieces of merch for the shop, one of which I'll be releasing hopefully around the time this episode comes out. I'm not going to say what it is just yet, although my Patreon members did get a first look at what this particular design is, so they know what it's all about. I'm super stoked on it, so I can't wait to get that up on the Etsy shop. It's a design that I had brewing in my head for quite a while that I started at some point in the last year or two, and it was just kind of a back burner thing for a while, and finally got around to finishing it. It's one of those involved illustrations, so it'll be fun, and definitely be on the lookout for that. I might do some kind of a giveaway for it, so if you're into that kind of thing, you'll want to follow my Instagram just to be aware and have a heads up of when that's going to drop. As far as other news, I just released a brand new video over on my YouTube channel called Top 10 Unexplained Bigfoot Videos. It's been a while since I've done a video like this, so but it's basically a collection of a lot of interesting and compelling footage and of the big guy, and there's so much stuff out there that it's hard to know what's real, what's not, but those are some of my favorite pieces of footage, and I'm sure I'm going to do a follow-up at some point because there's a lot more stuff out there, and it would be great if you could check it out over on my YouTube channel, comment with your thoughts, and I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel as well. I'm making a concerted effort this year to get more video content out and grow my followership over there. So if you like exploring the world of weird, definitely consider checking that out. All right, so for today's episode, we've got another interview. I had a great chat with the artist and cartoonist Ellen Liebenthal. She has a super fun style and is pretty prolific in the amount of artwork that she has in her portfolio. She's part of some organizations that deal with comics and cartoons, and she also has a book about cryptozoology, which is really, really awesome. Anyway, I think you're going to like this chat. So why don't we just jump into the episode? All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Tonight's guest is artist Ellen Liebenthal. Ellen is a cartoonist, fabric designer, and writer based out of New York. And she is also a social media director for the National Cartoonist Society. And Ellen also has a big love for cryptozoology, which we love here on the Strangeology podcast. And Ellen's even authored and illustrated a cryptid book called A-Z Cryptozoology. So thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, Ellen. Can you talk a little bit about your background and what you do?
Thank you so much for having me. So I've been an artist for a while now. I work full-time as a graphic designer in the fabric industry. So then I also do fabric design with them. I design a lot of quilting fabric, but I am also a cartoonist and a writer. So I always joke that I work 9 to 5 and then I work 5 to 9. So the second I leave work, I'm working on my own projects, I'm writing, I'm doing what I can to get what I really, really want to write out there.
Gotcha. Yeah. I feel that. I myself am a graphic designer by trade as well. And I do freelance work right now. I don't have a 9 to 5. I guess Strangeology has kind of become my 9 to 5, which is pretty cool. It's, kind
That's
of
awesome.
Coming to its own thing in a few different, avenues of like what I'm doing with it, which is really fun. So yeah, no, that's awesome. What made you realize that art was your calling? Was there a particular moment in your life where you were like, this is what I want to do?
So I think that desire was always there. I've been drawing since I was very young. I remember in class when like my teacher would take the paper away because I was like doodling in the corners of my notebooks. But it wasn't until right at the end of my senior year in college. So I actually went to school for linguistics. So I studied language, and I took art classes. Like I'm not just an illustrator, I also paint, and I was taking a lot of painting classes. And this story, it's like very fortuitous how it kind of came to be where I am now. I was painting my senior year and I had posted my final project on Facebook, and this person that I knew, like he was a friend, but like an acquaintance, like I only met him a couple of times. He had shared my artwork and he writes to me and he goes, "Hey, my aunt saw your painting and she wants to talk to you about it." And I'm like, all right, okay. Like I was graduating, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And I met with her and it turned out she was this famous painter. She had like shows in 60 countries, and she just wanted to talk to me about the painting because it was very similar to something she was doing. And right as I'm about to leave, I go, "Oh, by the way, I also do these illustrations." And I like opens up my portfolio and she's like, "You need to work for me." And yeah, and that's how I started. I taught myself Photoshop, InDesign, and then I just kept growing from there, and then moved jobs around, and now I work in the fabric industry.
Wow, that's an awesome story. Yeah, and there's something to be said about kind of doing it DIY and teaching yourself. Like I took art classes throughout high school, and I went to college for design, but I had largely been self-taught in like Photoshop and Illustrator and all that stuff. And that's really awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely hands-on work helps you learn a lot faster.
Yes.
Like started mostly in design, and then when I started my new job, my coworker gave me some like basics and gave me projects to practice, and then I just learned from there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, since you do like comic strips and stuff like that, and do you have like a favorite comic book or like a cartoon that you had when you were growing up or currently that? Yeah.
Yeah, I was basically raised on Mad Magazine. I was reading Spy versus Spy before I could read, just like flipping through. Yeah, I was actually I'm visiting my parents right now, so I was going through a lot of the books I have, and I just have piles and piles of magazines, so worn out from just every single day flipping through them. So that was definitely when I was younger. And nowadays I read a lot of different things. The stuff I really like, I really love Brian K. Vaughan. He's just an incredible writer, and he wrote Why the Last Man and Saga, and I just
Yeah.
love his work. Yeah.
Yeah, gosh, I checked out, I think, the first few issues of Saga. There was a period of time a few years ago that I was reading a lot of comics like Walking Dead and Invincible, stuff from like Image Comics. And then my fiance was into Saga, and she's like, "Oh, you need to check this out." And I never got back to it because there's just so many different things going on in my life. So
yeah. I get it.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any artists that really kind of inspired you to pursue this path?
Yeah, it's really a lot of the artists and writers that were in Mad Magazine and are in Mad Magazine. I'm a huge fan of animated comedies. So I was definitely watching what is it called? Adult Swim, like way too early. You know, like I must have been at like 8 or something when I started watching. So I really look towards a lot of the showrunners. Like I love Matt Groening, Seth MacFarlane, Dan Harmon. Like we'll talk about the book I have with his name on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, people like Rebecca Sugar, I really love her work, and Lisa Hanawalt. She's the one who did the design for BoJack Horseman, and she also has a show out called Tuca and Birdie that I really love.
I haven't checked that out. Yeah, no, I remember when Adult Swim came out. Yeah, I'm probably dating myself, like late 90s, early 2000s, and I think I had like a box set of Aqua Teen Hunger Force DVDs that carried me through college and stuff. So
amazing.
Those were some good times for sure. Yeah. So what's you mentioned you also do painting, you do illustration. Do you have like a preferred medium? Like, do you like the more traditional methods, or do you also do like digital art creation? Yeah.
So I like working in a lot of different mediums. I definitely like finalizing my work more in digital. I think, at least for me, it's just like a crisper, more. I just like the look of it. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but most of my sketching though is done in pencil and paper. It's just way easier to flip through and not think, okay, this has to be perfect, and it's more organic, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of similar in a way. I like to take out the pencil and the paper and sketch things that way. Although I did recently get Procreate for my iPad, so
I love using that.
I've been doing a lot of designs like that, starting in there and then bringing it into Illustrator to like make it really crisp and clean and vectorized, I guess, to for all my different designs.
Thing.
Yeah.
I sketch paper pencil, and then I'll usually take a picture of it and bring it into Procreate, and then go into more fine details and the ink and the coloring there. It's just way easier also changing color around. If I go, if I'm like, oh, I hate this, I didn't ruin the drawing, I can just fix it.
It's a powerful tool that artists can utilize now, which is really a nice thing for sure. Yeah. So you have your own comic called Instant Nuts. Is that right? Can you talk about that for a minute? Like what that's all about, and what kind of inspired you to create that?
I was like trying to think how to put into words what it is, but it's more just the comic strip is more just a place where I put these random thoughts that don't really fit into, I don't know, a comedy bit or a book or this. It's just like a one-off thought and throw it in there. So
There you go.
if we're talking artists again, also that I'm very inspired by Brad Neely. He's a great cartoonist, and all of his stuff is just very weird. Like it'll just be one line and an image that doesn't really match the line, but it just works. And he's also done a couple of shows. I think he has 2 or 3 shows on Adult Swim now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's really good. That's where the idea of like, I don't know, I'd always had cartoons I was doing, and then I just, went, I should probably give a name to this and put them together to just
Yeah.
organize them to make it less than just floating cartoons, because then it's just chaos and then I don't know what to do with it.
Right. That's nice. What's your favorite part of the process of making your art? Is it kind
Mm.
of like the beginning stage or like the finalizing stage, or just kind of like concepting different characters or
Oh, definitely the concept art is probably my favorite. It really gives me a chance to be a little fluid with design. So I'll draw something and I'll walk away and come back and completely redraw it. And it looks so different, but I like it because I didn't waste my time like doing the line work and the coloring for it. It's just really fun to create something new each time. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Nice. Um Can you talk about your fabric designing experience? That's you mentioned that's kind of like your 9 to 5. Like what is that like?
Oh, I love it. It seeps well out of my 9 to 5 because it's a lot of work, and a lot of editing, a lot of changing. But I really love doing it. I've come out with a few lines in the past 1 or 2 years. My favorite has to be it's perfect. It's called Amazing Aliens, and in it I got to do a storybook. Oh, I actually have it right here. That worked out. I can show you it. Someone gets this. They get it as a panel, and then they can cut it out. And I don't know if you could see it, and sew
Yeah.
it together like a kid's soft book.
No way. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
So I was really, really proud of this one. I had so much fun coming up with the characters and the names and the storyline.
Yeah.
So it was really fun working on this one.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great.
So, thank you. Yeah, so I absolutely love doing fabric design. It gives me an opportunity to create something with my own style. It's a lot of creative freedom to do what I want.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Do you do like a lot of patterning type of stuff,
Mhm.
and do you get to like pick out textiles and fabrics that they go on, or is that usually someone else's department?
So that's definitely someone else's department. I think most of our stuff is cotton. Again, again, it's like a quilting fabric, so it's pretty standard what people would order. Yeah, but I get
Gotcha.
to do everything else. Like I work with my art director who helps me walk through and change things. Okay, this would work for this market. Maybe let's change this for this age. But yeah, I get all of the creative freedom, which is really nice.
Oh, wow. That's really fun.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, it's good to enjoy your work for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I've found in my years of experience
Oh yeah.
doing design for sure. So you are also a social media director for the National Cartoonist Society. Could you talk about your experience with them, like how you came into the position, and kind of like what exactly you do?
Yeah. The National Cartoonist Society was created in 1946. It was during the war, cartoonists had gone over to entertain the troops, and they realized how much they enjoyed hanging out with each other. So they decided to make it an official organization. So it's a professional organization where we're just like a bunch of cartoonists who get together, talk about anything really. And I've made a lot of good friends through it. And how I found them, I cannot remember if I saw them at a table at Comic-Con, or I think my mom might have read about them and was like, "Hey, you should check this out. You're a cartoonist. I think you'd enjoy it."
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been a member for oh 4 years now. Yeah, a member for 4 years. And yeah, I'm on the national board. I'm actually also one of the vice presidents and the social media director. And most recently, I became the president of the New York chapter.
Oh,
So I do all of the New York planning stuff.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't have everything. Thank you. I didn't have everything listed online. There's only so much you can fit in a bio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I really love the organization. I love being a part of it. Um, I've met so many interesting cartoonists and writers, and it's just so amazing. It's amazing being friends with the people whose work you idolize.
Yeah.
So like I remember how excited I was when I first joined, when I first got in. And I think I remember I was in the library and they had Mad Magazine on there, and I was like, I know this person now. I know that person.
Yeah, that's
I was just
awesome.
so excited. It's like meeting your
Yeah,
heroes.
for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
really great.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, going back to Comic-Con, that's something I've always wanted to check out, but I've never been. I've gone to PAX East a couple of times in Boston since I'm in New England, so it's a little bit closer, but it's been several years since I've done that, and it's those kinds of events are so huge and overwhelming. It's really awesome to see like all the different, stuff there. And obviously PAX is
Yeah.
more video game oriented, but yeah, no, that's great. So I was I'm looking through your Instagram and your website and stuff. Who is Petey the Dragon?
So Petey the Dragon is my pet dragon. He follows me around pretty much everywhere. I forget that he's not real sometimes, just because when I draw him in to explain Petey, I take photos and then I draw this character I created into the photos. Most of the time, he's interacting with me or interacting with my friends or eating. That's what he likes to do. He really likes to eat. But he's just a fun little character I came up with a couple of years ago, and I have a lot of like projects on my back burner, and one of them is a Petey the Dragon
Oh,
book.
cool.
But for now, he's just someone a character I like to draw here and there.
Nice. Yeah, it's fun. It's cool that you really make it look like he's there. Like it's like Roger Rabbit, like the tunes kind of like in with real life. It's a really cool effect that you have going on there.
Oh, I love that.
No problem. I was just wondering. I was like, oh, there's like all these different posts with this Petey the Dragon character, and I just wanted to know what was up with that. Yeah.
I always joke that I'm like, oh, he's my son, and people are like, wow, I want to meet your son. I have to explain like the story behind it. I'm like, it's just a fun character. It's just, I always have to go, I'm not insane. I don't think he's real.
You gotta have fun, especially with your art. So, and speaking of characters, you have this page on your website or this project called 1000 Characters, and it's where you drew 1000 unique cartoon characters, which is wild, by the way. That's an insane amount of work. And
you.
it goes along with this book that you have called Dan Harmon, Please Hire Me. And for my listeners out there, if you don't know who Dan Harmon is, you might be familiar with Rick and Morty or Community, perhaps. So what's the story behind that project? And, how did you go about concepting all these different characters? Like, they each have their own like biography and all that too. So it's like, wow, that's a really cool project.
Thank you. I'm really proud of that project. I came up with the idea. I remember I was like, you know what? I want to challenge myself to draw 10 original characters. I'm just going to draw them and I want to give them like a name, an origin, and a fun fact. That was it. And then I just had so much fun with it that I just kept going. And then as I was like doing it, I was like, you know what? I should post these like on its own so it could be separate from the other art I'm doing. And I realized I was like, 1,000 characters just sounds so good. I'm gonna go for 1,000 characters. And I actually did the project. I finished the project in exactly 2 years. As I was approaching the 2-year mark, I went, you know what? I can't keep going. I gotta just finish this up. But it was just so much fun. I definitely learned a lot. Especially just with character design and keeping things loose.
Yeah.
I think this is where I really applied a lot of my linguistics experiences, because a lot of the aliens, because there's a mix of aliens and humans. And when I did the aliens, I was basically inventing a language as I went along. And I was going to say there's something that I really love doing called, I believe it's called con linguistics. It's like with Klingon from Star Trek and Dothraki from Game of Thrones. They're both real languages.
Right, yeah.
So that's, it's a weird hobby to have, but I like to do that sometimes. It's just like come up with language systems. So I applied a lot of that to writing for the alien characters.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, curveball question.
But the yeah. What's the curveball question?
Do you know any Klingon?
Unfortunately, no, but it's actually the reason why I went into linguistics. When I went to college, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to go for. And my mom was like, you know what, go to a couple of these, they had like beginning seminars for different majors. And the linguistics professor spent 45 minutes like telling us why Klingon should be taught in schools. And I was like, this is it. I love this so much.
That's awesome. Did you grow up watching any of the Star Trek series or anything like that, or?
Oh yeah, I was raised on all that stuff. I was raised on, oh my God, Monty Python, Three Stooges, Star Wars, Star Trek, anything on the list. You can just go. My dad had me watch.
Sure. Yeah, I noticed that you have a lot of like sci-fi inspired character artwork and like post-apocalyptic type stuff. Do you have like, what of those is like your favorite like science fiction type story?
Ooh, I do tend to get drawn to the post-apocalyptic world, mostly because I think the character design is so fun and so interesting. Like I was thinking about like, oh, what are my favorite like sci-fi movies and all that. I truly loved the new Mad Max. I just loved everything from the costuming to the car details to just every single bit of design put into that movie was just genius. So I do definitely tend to like that. I'm trying to think of other stuff that I used to watch as Max is definitely the first one I think.
Yeah. Fury Road was definitely a fun movie, and I've actually never sat down and watched through all the original Mad Max movies from like the 80s. Probably should do that sometime.
I haven't either.
Yeah. It's one of those things on the list that I'll get to eventually. Yeah.
You know, when I was drawing 1,000 characters, I did end up drawing a lot of post-apocalyptic characters. A lot of them come from, I called it Earth 2, and that was just so I can group them together and then use them later on. Because again, like I said, projects in the back burner and all that. I had been working on a graphic novel called 5775, and that's like what year it'll be. So as I was drawing them, I realized, oh my God, these could fit in this story, and I could move this design to this part of the book that I'm working on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. You are a very busy.
Did I answer your question?
Who knows? Who knows? You're a very prolific and dedicated artist, and it sounds like you have a ton of really awesome stuff going on, which is really cool to hear. You know, so let's transition here and start to talk about some Fortean stuff. What began your fascination with cryptids and cryptozoology? Was there like a particular thing or event in your life that did it for you? Like, did you pick up a book one day that had Bigfoot on it, or was there like a television show that you saw that kind of just like hooked you in?
Oh yeah. When I was younger, it's really funny. Scooby-Doo had a movie. I think it was called The Monster from Mexico, and it was about the chupacabra. And I was young and it scared me, and I was so confused, and I was like, okay, this is terrifying. But it was like my first introduction to cryptozoology. And then a couple of years ago, I was watching one of my favorite shows called Face Off, like on the Sci-Fi Network. And it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's like the movie magic, like the people who make the FX makeup for movies. So it's like a competition show. And one of the weeks they were challenged with creating cryptids. And I loved how much history was there. And I loved the creativity of it. So that just, since then, that got me hooked.
That's great. Yeah. I grew up with Scooby-Doo, although there's so much Scooby-Doo and so many different like generations of like what they've done with that those set of characters, that it's changed so much. I haven't seen the one with the chupacabra, but I did hear recently that there was one of the series in the past 10 years. Have you ever heard of the Hodag from Rhinelander, Wisconsin?
I think so.
Yeah, it's like this green kind of like short, stocky beast with big horns and big teeth that would have like smoke billowing out of its ears. It was this like totally like made up hoax story by someone in like the late 1800s, early 1900s that would try to like get people to come to his like little sideshow and make lots of money off of gullible people. But it's a really fun story. But apparently the Hodag made an appearance in a recent Scooby-Doo episode, which is really funny.
I wouldn't doubt them. They really love to pull from supernatural, even if it's like, again, like a man in a mask. Yeah. But like, I don't know, they did, what was it, Zombie Island? They did the alien invasion.
Yeah.
Like they really do pull from like ghosts and ghouls. And
oh yeah, no, it's great. I would say, Scooby-Doo is probably like a big influence on me for like the strange and unexplained and like all the weird stuff out there for sure. I've probably spent more time than I'd like to admit watching that show when I was a kid. Although maybe who cares?
No, listen, watching TV is never a waste of time to me. I love it.
There you go.
It's research.
Yeah, exactly. It can be for sure. I mean, I've got my Discovery Plus subscription to watch all the back catalog of Finding Bigfoot and Expedition X. So do you have a favorite cryptid?
Yes, I love the Mapinguari.
Oh
I
man, yeah.
um it's just such a funny, it could be so scary looking, but so cute looking at the same time. So like on that show Face Off, one of them got the Mapinguari, but they chose the tiniest model, and it was just so cute and fuzzy with like a little mouth on its
Yeah.
stomach. And I love the design of it, I guess, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a very interesting looking creature for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny when if you're like super familiar with North American cryptids, a lot of them aren't like super weird or terrifying, but when you start venturing out like to Southeast Asia in particular and South
Mhm.
America, like there's some like really, really interesting, but also kind of legitimately if you ran
Terrifying.
into something like that, yeah, you'd be terrified for sure.
Oh yeah. If you ever read into like Japanese cryptids,
Mm,
some of them are, I can't even read about them because it just scares me to even see the photo of it. There was one that I drew that was really, it was really fun to draw, but it was definitely terrifying, called the Gashadukoro. I believe that's how it's pronounced. And it's a 60-foot skeleton monster that travels at night and picks up the bones of fallen soldiers to then bring into its mass and make it bigger. And if you ever like bump into it, you're not escaping.
yeah.
Like
Oh wow.
it's just so
That's
scary.
interesting. That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm
Yeah. Oh
familiar with
yeah,
that one.
there's a lot
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I mean it's such a
Yeah.
wide world of different legends and folklore, and yeah, I'm always learning about new stuff, beyond Bigfoot,
Yeah.
Chupacabra, Mothman, It's
The
yeah, the
basics.
basic cryptids. Yeah. Yeah. Um Out of all the cryptids that are out there, which one do you think has like the highest chance of actually existing?
Hmm. So I it's a tough question. So I would okay, so I have two answers. One, I think that aliens in some form exist, mostly because the universe is ever
Mhm.
expanding, and it seems very self-centered to think this is it, and think, oh yep, this is the entire universe. I don't think that they visited us. I feel like that would be a little more common knowledge or like more proof if they actually came, but I think it's a little small-minded to think that they just don't
Mhm.
exist. And I think deep sea creatures exist because I have to go,
Yeah.
because we've only explored less than what, 20% of the oceans, and some parts of the oceans can reach magma level temperatures. So I think that prehistoric creatures might have still existed. It's just based off scientific fact that we're still discovering new creatures every single
Mhm.
day. And even and if you see like the very like the deep sea creatures we have discovered are really scary
Oh my
looking.
god,
So
yeah. Yeah. There's like Instagram pages that have just dedicated to like deep sea fish and different crustaceans and
yeah.
jellyfish and all sorts of stuff. Like, I mean, anglerfish are terrifying enough, but they're I feel like they're not even like the most terrifying thing that's like in the deep in the oceans. Like we know more about the
Oh yeah.
surface of the moon than we do about what's what's under the water. It's
Oh yeah.
terrifying.
I would rather take a ship to space than take a
Yeah.
submarine. Like I
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's the thing is like I want to be careful because I don't want to get a bunch of angry messages being like, Ellen, you're stupid. Bigfoot is real. Like I don't, but I am definitely more interested in the human nature around cryptozoology. I think it's fascinating how many people from so many different cultures and countries believe in a lot of similar things, and how a lot of folklore kind of repeats itself in different cultures.
Yeah.
Like today I was reading about Swan Maidens, which are they're basically, I guess, like nymphs, but instead, like, their look is more like swan feathers, like, wrapped around them. But it started in Russian folklore, but it also exists in, I think, Italian, I think, oh my God, I think it was Japanese, but it also existed. But it's just so interesting that it spread so widely in so many different
Yeah.
ways. So that's why I'm not like, I again, I'm like trying to be very careful and be like, yeah, I don't necessarily believe in all these other ones across the world, but I just think it's interesting to read about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There must be some kind of like, collective unconscious or something for different kind of stories or similar ideas to populate around different parts of the world and
Yeah.
in disconnected cultures and stuff. It's a really interesting phenomenon for sure.
One thing I learned while interacting with other people who read about cryptids is that they can be very passionate people. And I try my best, again, like, to tread lightly, because I remember, I forgot it was, I think on a Facebook group, I had posted a piece that I was working on, and it was, I think it came from Norse mythology, and someone got furious at
Mm.
me. He was like, this isn't cryptozoology. Cryptozoology has to be unknown creatures. This isn't a creature, it's a ghost." I
Well,
I'm like, "I'm sorry."
yeah. Oh, hey, people listening out there. Let's not gatekeep. Cryptozoology is for everybody, and
Exactly.
we all need to be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you put together this book called A-Z of Cryptozoology. Did I get that right? Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yeah. Actually, I have
Yeah.
show it's a little backwards. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what was your thoughts about creating that book? What inspired you to do that?
It was a couple of things. One of them was that I realized I had a ton of knowledge that I didn't really know where to put, because I loved reading about cryptids. I loved drawing them. I loved writing about them, and I was like, you know what? I think I need to write a book about what I've learned so far. And I thought it would be really fun to do an A to Z kids book for adults.
Yeah.
It is for kids too, but definitely some of the again, like we talked about, some of them are really terrifying. So like it's actually the Gasha de Coral that I was talking about.
Oh man,
that giant monster.
that's
yeah,
wild.
scary. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, so it was really fun putting this together. There's a lot of humor in it. It's actually, sometimes I make myself laugh sometimes. I dedicated it to my first love, Mothman.
There you go. A good first love to have, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was really fun putting this together, and it's definitely a passion project. I drew these, redrew them, changed which one I wanted for each letter, and put it all together.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah, it was just really fun.
that's awesome. Do you have just one cryptid for each letter, or do you have like a couple for each, or?
This one is just one for each letter. So it's like you flip through a regular A to Z book. You're like, A is for Ahul,
Okay.
B is for Bunyip.
Yeah.
And then it has like their origin and kind of like a description or a recent sighting.
Oh,
of
that's
them.
awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it all self-published, or did you reach out to a publisher to put that out?
This one is all self-published. I am working on a follow-up book, and it's called Around the World in 80 Cryptids.
Oh,
So it'll be,
interesting.
yeah, it's instead of, was it 26? That's how many letters are now?
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah, it's going to be 80 cryptids, and it's going to be more of like an adventure novel. So this person's traveling around trying to find as many cryptids as she can while traveling the world.
Nice.
But that one, I think I'm going to try to pitch to publishers. This, I was like, I want to do it. I want to make it, and I want to just sell it myself.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations on
Thank you.
like putting that together and getting that out. It's always like,
Thank you.
it's always like a really awesome feeling when you work on something and you like pour your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and then you get it out there and like people can see it, and you know, it's that's really, really cool.
Thank you.
There's
I had done I do remember I did answer one part of your question earlier. The other book I did, Dan Harmon, Please Hire Me. That was my first book I ever self-published, and this is it again. I brought them. This one I had so much fun with too. This was part of the 1,000 characters project I talked about before, where I took the first 500 and I put it in a book, and each one of them, this is a little different. So like the entire inside is like this, and they're numbered. So you could pick a number and then flip to the back and then read about each one to find out about them. And it was named this because a lot of people would look at my work and they go, oh, your stuff looks like Rick and Morty. It looks like this. And I was like, well, I'm already drawing like it. Dan Harmon should just hire me and use the art I already have. So then I went with that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Are you familiar with MetaZoo games at all?
MetaZoo?
Oh, okay. So
no, I don't.
They're a company that puts out these. It's like a card game. It's kind of like Pokemon, but it's Cryptid inspired. So they have all these different like artists that put together like, you know, different cards that have like stats and stuff, and it's all, you know, unique illustrations. Yeah, that's cool. You should. I think you'd like that. I vended at CryptidCon in Kentucky back in November last year, and they had a very big presence there. They had a few different tables, and a lot of their reps were like walking around handing out cards to people. They had people there at the tables like actively drawing different characters and stuff. It was really cool. If you ever get a chance to go to CryptidCon, I highly recommend it.
It's on my list. I have a list of where I want to go. COVID has made it difficult to go anywhere.
It has, yeah, for sure. I feel that, but yeah. Fingers crossed that things are, you know, getting back a little bit more towards normal. Do you have a favorite author or researcher or like documentary that deals with cryptozoology?
I gotta be honest, I get way too scared trying to watch any of those. They're always filmed in such a way that I'm not going to sleep after watching it. So nothing specifically, and no specific author. I really do love just finding articles online and reading about it. What was fun, I did take a course at the online, the Center of Excellence. I don't know if you heard of them before. But you'd actually really like this. They offer a cryptozoology course, and you could get certified.
You know, actually,
so I got certified.
That's awesome. I feel like maybe I've vaguely heard of it. I do know. I think someone was mentioning about recently about teaching like a children's course, like in a class about cryptozoology. It might have been Lisa from Cryptid Comforts. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was her. Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm going to have to look into that further.
Oh yeah, it was so like that was a really fun class and I learned a
Yeah.
lot. I definitely what's interesting about cryptozoology is that I don't know, people consider it, well, they call it a pseudoscience, but it really is kind of like a science in the sense of trial and error, because you still learn something by disproving a hypothesis. So every time we disprove something or we find something is a hoax, we're still learning something.
Right. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just, yeah,
That's science.
it was, yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's what I learned a lot. There was one part of it just about the Loch Ness monster, and it was so interesting. Like you said before, that someone was doing a hoax trying to get like tourists to come and pay
Yeah.
for
The
stuff.
Hodag.
There were people, yeah, there were so many people who would make fake footprints, like gigantic footprints, to like convince people of this and that. And for like years, people believed it and would come and
Mhm.
visit just to see the footprints or see this or, but it's just fascinating to learn about
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that.
That's
Mm.
awesome. um, do you have any like big projects you're working on right now that you can talk about, or um, are there any events that you're hoping you can actually make it to at some point this year or the next?
Yeah. So I do have a couple of fabric things coming out soon, but I can't say any specifics. Uh, and I already said that I am currently working on another cryptozoology book.
Yeah.
I am working on a second Dan Harmon Please Hire Me book. This one is called Dan Didn't Call, Matt Groening, It's Your Turn. So it'll be the second half of the 1,000 characters project. Yeah, and the rest are kind of just back burners right now. I will be, for events go, I'm going to be at Mocha Fest in New York. That's through the Society of Illustrators, and I'll be tabling with the National Cartoonist Society.
Nice.
And as of right now, yes, we are going to be at Comic-Con again this year. So I'll also be running that
Great,
table.
great. Yeah, that's awesome. What are the dates on those shows? If do you
So I know I'm like thinking, I know Mocha Fest is the end of this month. I believe it's April 2nd and 3rd, if that's the Saturday and Sunday. And Comic-Con is usually in
Hmm.
October. I think the 11th through the 14th, but I might be wrong. But it's usually like beginning of
Sure,
October.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Those will be fun, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited. I've done Comic-Con a couple of years now, and it's always just so exciting being there and meeting so many different people. And when you're not at the table, getting to go to different panels and events. Hopefully you'll be down here one day to come. It's just really fun.
Yeah, I'd love
It's
to go.
crazy, but
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to go someday for sure. So we're kind of coming to the top of the hour here. At this point, I usually you know, open up the show to some audience questions. I do have one for tonight that comes from something underscore IDK 56 underscore. And they ask, what's your favorite cryptid to draw?
mm, that is a tough one. I hmm, I think it's really fun to draw the Fresno night crawlers, just because it's very simple, but they can be so cute because they're just like walking pants.
Yes.
Yes, I definitely have fun drawing them. I've definitely had a lot of fun when I drew the Sasquatch, because he got very detailed with the fur. Yeah, I think those are the two that pop into my mind as like my favorite to draw and
Nice.
sketch.
Yeah. Fresno Nightcrawlers are a super fun cryptid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like,
It's so
I know.
silly. It's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. And it's like, nobody knows what they are. Were they a pair of pants on a clothesline, or are they actually?
Or was it a flash? Was it this? Was it that?
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun to talk about and debate for sure. All right.
Oh yeah, it's again, I just love hearing the stories of it. I love hearing the backgrounds of it. It's just why not?
Yeah. It's interesting. There's only like, there's the Fresno sighting that was on the security camera, the home security camera CCTV footage that was like someone took a camcorder and filmed the CCTV, and that's why it's so bad in the footage, so that makes it a little bit sus. But and then there's the Yosemite footage, but there are some other stories out there of people who have run into something that sounds a lot similar to what that was like in Canada and some other spots of North America, if you look into it further. But yeah.
You know what, that goes back to me like treading lightly, because there are creatures that were once cryptids that were proven real. Like you have the platypus, you have, what is it, the mountain gorillas, the giant squid.
Yeah, the colossal squid or whatever that they finally found 10 years ago.
Yeah, and also like the kraken was literally based on octopus and squid. I think it was Vikings that were going through water for the first time, and this is when water pollution didn't really exist, so there weren't giant boats chasing these creatures away, so they were closer to the surface. And to someone who's never seen a squid before, I'm sure it looked like a giant sea monster.
Right.
Like
and like octopus and squid are very intelligent animals too.
Oh yeah.
There's
100%.
Have you heard of the like the school of thought that some scientists think that octopus might be extraterrestrial, like they came here via panspermia, like on a meteorite or something, and crash landed millions of years ago?
No, I never heard that theory
I guess
before.
like their DNA and chromosomal makeup is like vastly different than most other life on Earth, apparently. I don't know.
Interesting.
I read an article about that a little while ago, so it's like, maybe aliens are real. I don't know. And they're right here.
They're in our oceans. They've been here the whole time.
Could be. So I've got one final question before we wrap up the regular show here, that I typically ask all my guests. So out of all the high strangeness out there in the world, what would you say keeps you up at night the most?
Keeps me up at, like, being scared of it, or that I think about it obsessively?
I don't know. Scared, existential crisis. I don't know. Either or.
Well, I think that goes way past cryptozoology. That's more just internal despair. Oh God, that's a really tough question. Again, it's one of the cryptozoology is something I'm very passionate about, reading about, and like writing about, but I don't know if it's something that keeps me up at night. The only time it's kept me up at night is when I suddenly have an idea and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta write this down, I gotta draw this right now, and then it's 4 a.m. I'm like, I just spent an hour drawing the Yeti.
There you go.
Like,
that keeps you up at night.
I need to go to sleep.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, me too. Always tired. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show tonight, Ellen. Where can my audience find you?
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at ellenliebenthal.art, and my website, ellenliebenthal.com, is where you can buy my books. For the cryptozoology book, I'm actually wearing it, a Yeti pin.
Nice.
And I have sticker packs and a bonus Mothman sticker.
Awesome.
So
great.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. Ellen's going to hang out for a few more minutes for Strangeology Beyond, the Patreon segment of the show. We're just going to hang out and chat about cryptids and other weird stuff. So for everyone else, Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. All right. Thanks again, Ellen, for coming on to the show. That was a fun conversation, and the world could use some more talk about Scooby-Doo's influence on cryptids or vice versa. Definitely check out her projects and her amazing artwork if you like comics, cartoons, cryptids, and that kind of thing. And as I always do when wrapping up an episode, I've got to give a big thanks to everyone out there who checks out my show. Thank you so much for listening and sharing the Strangeology podcast. It means a lot to me and helps me out so much when you do. And if you have a minute, I'd love it if you left me a review over on Apple Podcasts, or if you want to just send me a message or suggestions, you can email me at strangeologist@gmail.com or hit me up in my DMs. And don't forget to sign up for my mailing list as well. You can find that over on my blog website, strangeology.com. I occasionally send out merch store discounts and notifications of shop sales and new content if I remember to send out an email. I don't send out email blasts too often, so you don't need to worry about spam from me. If you're looking for an easy way to support the Strangeology podcast and helping me to do what I love, please head on over to patreon.com/Strangeology. Members have access to several tiers with different benefits and perks starting at as little as $1 per month. Some of the perks include shoutouts, the Home State Cryptid of the Month t-shirt club, VIP Discord access, early access to new content, access to members only content like Strangeology Beyond, exclusive members only merch, and more. And a quick shout out to my patrons. We've got Alex Dorgan, Alyssa, The Mystic Novelty Company, Appalachian Huntsman, MetaZoo Games, Greg Morrill from All the Weird, Sean Colon, Miranda Jarnot, John Hickenbottom, Maureen Asmat, Gail Frederick, Adam Flynn, Connor Boyle, Ryan Holiday, Cassie Maratson, Ann Lucher Zakowski Ford, and Roxy Roberge. So again, if you want to check that out, head on over to patreon.com/Strangeology. I definitely appreciate it a ton. You can also support the show by heading on over to my Etsy shop at strangeology.etsy.com, where I have a ton of cryptid and extraterrestrial and Fortean themed merch on t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, stickers, mugs, and a lot more. And don't forget to follow me on all the social media accounts. I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok, where things kind of get wild every now and then. And of course, my YouTube channel for new video content. Definitely subscribe over there. And that about does it for today's show, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the interview. For members, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Ellen and I are going to continue our conversation on the world of art and cryptids. So stick with us. And for everyone else, take care of yourselves and each other. And until next time, keep it strange. All right. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us for Strangeology Beyond. Thanks again, Ellen, for the awesome interview and hanging out for a few more minutes here to talk.